All right, so we do have a quorum. It is time to start the meeting. First of all, I will do land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded territory of the Shoshone, Bannock, and Northern Paiute people on which we are meeting today. The first thing we are going to do is approve minutes from June's meeting. I move to approve the minutes. Commissioner Thomas has, I'm going to get this one, has made a motion to pass the June meeting minutes. Do we have a second? Second. Commissioner Ashley has seconded the motion to pass the minutes from June. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And then we are not going to do the work session today, so we'll go right into the director's update.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Sorry. That's okay, no problem. Don't worry. Let's share this. Oh, okay. Sorry. So while Jillian's getting that set up, I want to introduce everybody to Christine, a new attorney that will be working for our commission. And do you mind saying just a couple words, maybe what you said to Chris right before we started?
Yeah. So my name is Christine Dodd. I lived in Idaho for about 20 years. I just got back after a 10-year absence. I have been involved in the arts for over 30 years. I went to University of Chicago as I did sculpture. And then when I had a publishing career, I published Boise Magazine, Sun Valley Art Magazine was my first magazine. And then I did magazines in Boise and McCall and worked for like the Chamber of Commerce and the Department of Commerce, various custom publishing jobs. So I was super involved with the city and with the arts. And then I went to law school at 46 and I got a little frustrated because I was like an art school person. And then suddenly I'm in this business with, 50 employees and I got really overwhelmed. So I went to law school at 46. And in the last 10 years, I've actually been working mostly in family law, volunteering places. And then this job came up. I was super excited to be involved here and landed here about 5 weeks ago. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So Rachel is actually online with us tonight, and then this is Commissioner Amanda Ashley, whose thing is over there. Just fine. Just in case you're wondering. So thank you so much. We're so happy you're here. Like already making a huge difference. So we're really excited.
Yeah, it's really good. Rachel, can you see our shared screen?
I can't. I could for a second and then it went away.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Something with IT in here, it's the screen is being funky, but let me try again. Okay, how about now?
Yes.
Okay, it's not gonna look pretty, but
It's really not, to be honest with you, the slides are not very exciting. And if you read the memo, then this won't be all that different. So we are gonna, there's not a whole lot to tell you guys today. We did decide because of the absence of both Trish and Melissa that we would postpone the discussion about commission. So I'm hoping that everybody will show up in October so we can have that conversation, make some progress there. You may have heard that Maureen Lavelle has given her notice and she is going to be departing the city next week. Next Friday is her last day. And so we have been recruiting. We started interviews on Monday and we will be continuing with the 2 finalists early next week, which we're excited about. Sweet, thanks. We had a really successful intern summer. We have had 2 interns, one of whom came recommended from Rachel from Commissioner Miller, by the name of Nathan, who goes to College of Idaho, and he has been doing the history-based tours that made up half of our City Steps program this summer. And then Lillian came from Boise State. She actually just finished the arts program from Commissioner Ashley's school. and she's been doing our art program. So they have been incredibly successful. They have had a lot of people sign up. It's been a really successful program. If you haven't had the opportunity to go on any of the tours yet, I would strongly love it if you did go. They run through the end of next week, so they run through the 16th of August. Maybe it's the 17th, whatever that Saturday is. 17th, thank you. And they, in addition to giving the tours this summer, they also, part of their internship was to create 2 new tours. So they will be rolling those out to city staff next Friday as a pilot, and be, of course, using those in the next season. We did offer a lot of these tours this summer in terms of just the cadence of how frequently we offered them to the public. July was really tough because of the heat and the smoke, so we had actually canceled quite a few of them, but our numbers are already back up for August, so we're looking forward to closing out the season with really strong numbers. And then toward the end of next week, we'll actually be sitting down with the interns as well as Maureen before she departs, because she's been really instrumental in sort of leading that program. And we're going to be sitting down with them and Emily, who's been collating all of the evaluations and feedback we've received from the public, to make sure, or just to sort of do a debrief and talk about what we can do differently next time and what we learned this summer before it's so far in our rearview mirror and we sort of forget things. So in any event, I have spent a lot of time this summer going to different organizations and trying to broaden our reach that for these programs or for these tours. And I think it's helped. We also did a huge marketing push in lots of new places. And I think that's what happens for the numbers. So we're excited about it. I can't wait to sort of sit down and do the debrief, but it's been really exciting. And then our third intern this summer came to us from Whitman College. She's actually a local young woman and is obviously not local for college, but was born in, she's from Boise. And she did some work for the history division over the summer as well. So really excited about the workforce development that we provided, the opportunities we provided in these fields, the opportunity for them to see the options out there for doing this work as a job. You guys have any questions about that before I move on?
Just what great projects to add to their resume.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think they certainly, they seem to have created a cute, like, neat little robbery among themselves. So yeah, I think it's gone really well. Our team has done a lot of professional development. We did an internal employee survey a few months ago that Jillian really helped with, to look at the things that the employees really want for job satisfaction. And one of those things is professional development. And I've heard that anecdotally since I came to the department a couple of years ago, but seeing that as one of the things that they really just sort of hit home and validated that point. So we have, continued to put budget each year toward allowing not everybody necessarily to always go travel to conferences, but definitely attend online conferences and then allow for some travel. So you can see that the city archivist Danielle attended a conference earlier this summer, actually just a few weeks ago down in Florida, and she actually went with somebody from the clerk's office who runs the records management program there. And so they are working hand in hand toward getting sort of on the same page for the entire city. Our communications manager, Jennifer, attended the National Association of Government Communicators Conference, which is a new conference for her. She'd never been to that conference that she's attended as no longer exists. And so this was a new thing for her, and it was, according to her, extremely valuable. So I think she learned a lot there. Just today and yesterday, Emily, Mackenzie, I, and Kristen Hill have been attending AASLH, so American Association for State and Local History, online conference on the trends that are ongoing in interpretive planning and interpretive skills. So that was that's been, I think some of that was useful, not all of it. And then they've been attending other things as well. And then I'll be attending the Western History Association conference in October, assuming that council gives their permission for me to do that. And I'll actually be chairing a panel on redlining in Kansas. So I'll be going in there, of course, with the lens of the Irv Hammond House and the River Street neighborhood history, and commenting on the scholars papers that will be there. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be happening in Kansas City. So, as I mentioned, we are going to table the discussion about the commission until next time around, but I'm happy to open it up for any questions, like sort of right off the bat, if you read the memo and things you might want to tell me to address when we have that conversation.
You know, I read through it. I'm excited. I think it looks well thought out. I like the different options. I like having more commissioners. So we would go from 6 with a student, right? Proposal.
Just a proposal.
Potentially, yeah, 15.
Yep.
Which would be. I always want to make sure, like we always talk about it, that we don't burden the department anymore. Like we're here to help. So that's.
Well, I'm hoping between now and October, that I had planned to wait to talk to staff until after we had a work session here at the commission level. But seeing as a lot of time has gone by and I'm to make a recommendation to the mayor, I think I'll probably end up having the staff conversation between now and the time we meet next, and then bring that feedback to you all in the work session.
Good.
And if you please, if anybody has questions or comments between now and that session, please feel free to, please do email me or call me. So exciting, the July to October program guide is out. You can get them in the lobby, you can get out, they're all over the place, which is great. So lots of really interesting things in there, including our grant events. And I'm gonna just actually put those up on the screen now so you can see what's there. Oops, sorry. I would strongly recommend going to any of these things. It looks like we're not even gonna hit 100 between now and the next 2 weeks from what I can see. So this is like prime time, forget the smoke, pretend like it's beautiful blue skies out, and go to some of our grants, our grantee events. I happened to go to Shakespeare in the last play that they put on the night of the signing, and it was great. It was really, I learned recently the difference between just an interpreter versus a ASL performer, and they were clearly performers. They were amazing, and it was just a joy to see the deaf and hard of hearing community who happened to be seated right in front of me and be able to see back their heads and the reactions that they were having, and it was really valuable. And I think that is a great segue to our grants manager, if the chair is so inclined,
Yes.
talk about our recent grants.
And first of all, Gabby and I, thank you for doing so much work. I mean, these grants, this is your big push of the year. I mean, I know, but it's especially, thank you for all of the work you put into it.
What a introduction to doing the whole thing, like your first full year,
Yes.
the most grants.
Thrown right in. Yeah. No, I thank you to commissioners that served on the panel, especially thank you for serving on Catalyst. We're talking about that as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and dive right into FY25 annual. I'm also going to be presenting on the Catalyst round 3. And then we're just closed on Friday round 4. So you'll hear one more time from me about Catalyst at the next commission meeting. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick overview, and please feel free at any point, let me know if you need any clarification or have questions about anything. But just to give a little bit of background to our grant program, it began in 1997. It's funded over 500 grant projects and programs since it began, and now we're about 2.5 million in 27 years. So a huge investment into our cultural community here in Boise. For this year, FY '25 means October 1st through September 30th of 2025. So that is the time span that these projects need to take place between our annual program. So we accept applications for projects or programs, and that's very specific. We can't offer operational support or capacity building. It's really based on projects. And related to arts history or culture, we had requests between $1,000 and $5,500 increments. And the requests cannot be more than 50% of the overall budget of the project. So if it's a $10,000 project, then they could ask for the full 5,000 as an example. We do allow for in-kind to make up that match on their end. So that's another thing that we look at in their budget. And then we do accept applications from individuals, groups, and organizations, and they don't have to have 501c3 status. They just have to make sure that they meet the criteria for the program. Just a quick outline of the timeline. So we had applications being accepted from April 29th through June 14th. The evaluation period was June 21st through July 24th, so about just a little over a month. We had our grant review meeting on July 25th. Today is August 7th, so we're accomplishing that right now. Next, it'll go in a memo to mayor and city council for review for 2 weeks. And then the selections will be finalized on August 26th. And then I'll have some time for writing notification letters and making sure those people are notified. And then the public announcement through social media as well as press release will go out in mid-September. So this year we had, that should be 2025. We had $150,000 available, and we had $244,300 requested. So we were almost $100,000 over the amount, which was challenging. Yeah, because we want to fund everyone, and there's so many amazing things going on in the community, but. Yeah, it was a big challenge, but again, thank you to all the panelists that supported this project or this program. And just a little step back too about the program. We really wanted our grant program, and since it's, I think, creation, to be an entry point for people in the community, to really provide skills and help prepare people for then moving on to whatever grants or funding that they want to get outside of the city. So we provided a grant writing workshop this year in April that some of the applicants attended. We offer office hours frequently. I do Wednesday and Thursday office hours, and this is the first time for the annual. I believe, I can't speak because I'm pretty new here, but that we offered really consistent office hours. I know my predecessor also did a lot of great customer service, but also in-person and virtual information sessions. We have 1 virtual and 2 in-person. And then we also always offer draft reviews of applications and budgets and provide feedback to applicants if they request that or want it. So we really try to make sure that people get their questions answered, and we're really providing that service at a really high level for the community.
I have a question. Between like the virtual and in-person, do you notice like which one gets more attendance, or is it just kind of?
So we did one on a Saturday that was definitely more well attended, just because it was a weekend. I think easier for people to come to. I will say most people watch the video after. So when we do a virtual session, we record it and then post it online. And I will say it's got like 50 something views, like maybe more than that. So I think having that resource, I think this is really helpful.
It's
so people
nice.
can look later. Yeah.
I noticed you shared that you were 100,000 over in terms of requests.
Yeah.
Is that similar to what it was last year?
It was slightly more. Last year, I want to say, I don't have the number in front of me, but it was maybe 30,000 there.
So slightly more
This year.
this year. Do you have any sense of, is it that we're having more organizations that are applying? Is it that what they need for programming is becoming more expensive because of inflation? Like do you have a sense of why those numbers are?
So a few factors. I think we had 54 applicants, which is 2 more than we had last year. We also saw higher requests across the board, more people requesting the full $5,000. I think a lot of that is due to high costs of inflation, high costs of operating and running programs in Boise, venue costs, things like that. And I think one thing that used to exist that I kind of changed maybe this year is in the past, we requested that people who it's their first time applying request between $1,000 and $3,000. Whereas I encouraged people to ask for what they needed to do the program successfully. And I asked for them to, obviously with keeping in mind that they need to have a 50%, like we can't be more than 50% of their total budget. So ask for what they needed and we saw much higher numbers in requests. And I think it's truly because it's costing more to do things.
So that $5,000 max that they can ask for, how long has it been set at that $5,000 number?
Do you know? I don't know the answer to that. I think since
I've been.
yeah,
That's what I know.
Yeah.
from the historical records that I can see, it's been a while, but.
All right, I appreciate that, thank you.
And we had quite a few first.
Yeah, so, and, yeah, I will have some of those too, yeah, but it's.
And if I could,
Yeah.
one of the things that we're talking about internally, Emily and I, is, you know, with the grantees in mind and the feedback that we've gotten from them, and Emily specifically, is trying to figure out if we need to tier this. And so Emily will be working between now and this time next year on actually revising the whole program, recognizing that she's gotten a ton of feedback because of the 4 rounds of the Catalyst grant and then this round, and it's her second time doing the annual, so she knew coming in that this was one of the things strategically we needed to do as a department to sort of refresh the program and make sure we needs and activities. So between the feedback she's gotten and the fact that we're going to be doing a cultural event and talking more in depth and doing some survey work, we know that this program needs to be revised. And maybe we even need to talk to leadership about expanding it if there's this much to make. So that's not to say that that would happen, but certainly it might be a recommendation that we ultimately decide to make. So
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think what's unique this year, and I'm not gonna talk about it as much because I wanna wait till Catalyst is fully complete before I do a lot of analysis. But with Catalyst and annual, we received some duplicates, so take this asterisk next to it. 106 applications for projects this year. So that's incredible. So there's a big need, I think, is what we're finding, and so we just have to kind of strategize how we can best meet that need moving forward.
I also think you guys have done a really great job in that over the last couple of years, but I feel like I really noticed it this year with a lot of new applicants too. Like there've been really clearly very concentrated efforts to expand, like spreading the news and moving into other sorts of arts communities about the grant opportunities. Cause it's been cool to just see the growth of like some of the people applying and stuff like that as well. So and that's a huge testament to the work you guys have done. So that's really great.
All right, so just to quickly review the eligibility and criteria that we are looking at for the program. So it has to be completed by, as I mentioned, an individual or as a representative of an organization or a nonprofit friends group associated with a government agency. Has to have that community direct benefit to Boise residents within Boise city limits. It needs to meet Americans with Disabilities Act requirements and then comply with the Department of Arts and History's Equal Opportunity Statement. And then we did require, as we had implemented in the Catalyst program, we implemented that also in annual that they had to have the budget template. And I made sure to include that in our detail section videos. So I walked through the budget to hopefully help use that, but it also just made it easier to think for our families. So I can speak to that if you would like.
Very much.
So criteria, we were looking at quality, community benefit, alignment with the city of Boise and the Arts and History Department mission, accessibility, and we I'll talk about it, but how we defined it for this grant is maybe specific versus accessibility, very large category, and then management. And so just to high level, it just needed to have a clear description of what the project actually was and how funds would be used. It needed biographies of how the people that would be involved in the project have expertise, and that could be in many different ways. As you can see, what we considered expertise could come from lots of different ways. So backgrounds, experience, internships, non-traditional settings. So that could look ways. And then community benefits. So why is the project meaningful for the community? Who is the audience, and how do you plan to reach said audience? And we tried to make sure it was really clear that a project can still have big community benefit, even if the target audience or the intended audience might be smaller or a very specific subsection of the community. It needed to have mission alignment for the city of Boise to create a city for everyone. We hoped everyone could see themselves in that vision, and I think that's the point of the city creating that, is that we're all part of this place. And then clearly aligns with our Department of Arts and History mission to cultivate a distinct sense of place, which reflects Boise's rich past, diverse communities, and unique again, this is accessibility. What we were specifically looking for this grant program was affordability, so free or low cost, $10 or less per person, and then inclusivity, so thinking about how it related to maybe hearing or vision, physical accessibility, language access, scholarship, and financial aid. Speaking back to that affordability component. And then management, so who is responsible to make sure the thing that you say you want to do is going to happen at your organization? How are you thinking about planning logistics, thinking like licenses, evaluation, venue is a big one always, but we didn't have the same. And then timeline. And then finally, a complete and balanced budget. We did look at special considerations, and this again was another carryover that we learned from Catalyst for annual, which was really thinking about if they attended an in-person, virtual, or recorded info session, they got sort of a special consideration, a boost in the review process, as well as first-time applicants also felt that. And then we always say that outcomes related to past years could influence if applicable. And so we want to make sure that we have that if someone doesn't complete a previous grant or maybe didn't follow the guidelines or the rules in the contract that we have, we can take that into consideration in the future. Okay, here we go. So recommendations. This is the good part. So we did have 13 applications, but I mean, unfortunately, for many different reasons, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but we're declining this for 2025. I think part of it is also high number of applicants and not having enough funding to go all the way across. But so as you can see the list here, each one individually, but please let me know any questions.
And can I say one thing?
Yes.
I really, and this is a thing I love doing every year. I really appreciated that we had new people this year, because we've had the same consistent group of reviewers 4 or 5 years I've done it. Maybe 1 or 2 people have come in, but Gabby and I were the only 2 that had ever done it before. And the fresh voices, like we had some really great dialogue and different perspectives that I hadn't thought about. So I really appreciate it. It's really great. It was really fun.
All right, I'll go on to the next page. As you can see, a few more listed here. And I would say some of the reasons might have been that they didn't necessarily align with the criteria or think about the criteria in their applications. There could have been things that the panel felt like were missing in the application. There's many reasons, and I'm happy to, again, if you have any questions, to meet those. All right, so we'll go into the funded. So these are recommended, but they were recommended at a reduced amount. And again, some of the reasons for that are varied, and again, I have lots of notes and can answer any questions that you have about these. But I am gonna go through and talk about a few of them. So Starbelly School Dance has been funded in the past, but was not funded in FY24, but we have funded them before, and they were funding a program called Voice Rocks, which is workshops and performances for the public.
And I'm sorry, they were not funded this year, like for fiscal year 25, you said.
For fiscal year, sorry, for fiscal year 24, they were not funded, but they were funded again for 25. I know Japanese Association, Japan Day, they had a little hiatus during COVID and had come back last year and funded again for FY25. Backyard Artists, they were actually a Catalyst grant first time recipient and first time applicant, and then applied for the annual grant and received, as I mentioned, a reduced amount for their paper plane press, which is a new publication that will be coming out, and they'll be supporting emerging writers and publishing them in a quarterly, I believe, publication. So keep an eye out for that. The Luminary, again, was a Catalyst success, and that was really the goal of Catalyst, was to reach first-time applicants or first-time, or new organizations, I should say, and the Luminary applied and received funding in Catalyst, and then applied for the annual and worked their way to the annual program, and they asked for funding for their second season, so producing a play production, and then testing it and running it for FY25. And please, again, feel free, as those that were in the room.
And all women,
Yeah.
women,
Oh, yes, all women.
actors, production.
Yes.
Where did they do their performances?
I think the last one was the little, what is it called? Boise Little Theater, yes.
I was like, so wanted to go last weekend. but
Yeah.
We had a big conference at work, so I couldn't make it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So Indo-Idaho does Indonesian Culture and Heritage Day and Badminton. I should put that on there, but I missed that part.
Yeah, Olympics.
Yeah. Idaho Film Foundation, I-40 Film Competition, we've funded that for a few years now. Great. I wish this thing wasn't in the way. Can I move
I
it?
think you can, if you press hide,
Oh,
that,
Oh, there you go.
do
oh,
it.
thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
Oh, so thanks, Jillian.
Yeah.
So Idaho Film Society, which is a fairly new organization and a first-time applicant, funded a program called Cultural Kaleidoscope, Embracing Diversity Through Cinema. And they'll have guest curators curate films based off of a variety of different diverse groups, including the LGBTQ plus community, as well as many others. And so that program series is what took us here at the Greyhound, old Greyhound station. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Idaho Dance Theater, funding their fall performances. And then, again, page 2 of the reduced amount. Friends of Minidoka has a Minidoka Memory Stories That Connect and Heal, which is an oral history project, as well as the publication and then distribution to local libraries of the kind of diary and notes of the superintendent of Minidoka, the superintendent of education, and that those stories haven't been published or publicized before, and so that will be part of their history project.
That's wonderful.
First time applicants. I should have had the asterisk on this one too, but I know they're learning through dance program with K-5 youth, elementary youth. Boise Phil and Ballet Idaho, their live downtown broadcast was at a reduced amount. This is going to be at Jump and shown on the, I think they call it the Jumpatron. I think. Don't quote me on that. But they'll have the performance, and then that will be a free public component that the community can go watch. Alana Saltzman is part of a group called the Moody Jews, and they're going to do public performances about the story of Klezmer if I'm saying that correctly. Apologize if I'm not. Close enough. And the kind of history, tradition, and culture of the Jewish community. Idaho Shakespeare Festival, as Jennifer just mentioned, their Access program, which does their special nights where they have, what are they, signing performers? Yeah, signing
Well,
performers.
I don't know what they call themselves.
Yes.
That's clearly what they're-
Yes. So you can see them right there in the front. Very cool, and that was it this year. Opera Idaho, their children's chorus, and in the past, I think this is a new request, a new program that they've asked to be funded. The program, I think, has existed for many years, but a new ask from this grant program. And then Winter Wildlands Alliance, which is a outdoor kind of snow sports film festival that really talks about and promotes outdoor culture, as well as conservation efforts going into protecting the outdoors. All right, and then we're in, I don't know how much time we're at, but keep going. So recommend, 2,000 to 2,500. We have this list here, which I'll go through quickly. The Tree City Chamber Playlist, which I believe is a relatively new group. Actually met them at one of our in-person info sessions at Global Lounge. And so they're going to be doing musical tales at the library, where it will be book readings with instruments going along with that. So kids will get a chance to not only have that literacy component, but hear wonderful music and maybe be introduced to new instruments. Boise Baroque Orchestra is got funding for their summer music education concerts. And so those are available to the public to watch those performances. Boise Blues Society, Blues in the School, they are not a first-time applicant, but first time in many years applying, and were funded for a program where they do just what that says. They bring blues to the schools, as you can see in sometimes assembly formats and sometimes in classrooms. But their application was interesting because they talk about how they try to make it interdisciplinary, thinking about how music can correspond with math and social studies and whatever it is that the schools are talking about. Common Ground Community Course, so Idaho Voices for Diversity. It's their 20th anniversary, and so they'll be doing several concerts along with that. Sun Valley Playwrights Residency, and you're probably like, what? That's not here. But they're actually bringing a Pulitzer Prize finalist playwright, Rajiv Joseph, to Boise State and partnering with Boise State and offering some public readings, as well as collaborating with the theater department at Boise State to do some classroom specific programming. So very cool opportunity, once in a lifetime, to see a Pulitzer Prize finalist. And then 3,000 to 4,000, we'll see Artisans for Hope, and the goal is to do and bring in some new product that relates to various refugee communities that are part of their organization, and then so creation of that project materials for those products as well. Capital City Flute does their Flute Fest, where they bring in talent, national talent, the flute, actual flute, and do a concert for Outside Flute Fest for the public, and there's a public concert. I believe it's free. And then Treasure Valley Children's Theater, they actually just moved to a new location, I believe it's off Orchard, Boise. And their whole season is all centered around this theme of a place to call home, as they just found their new home. And so we will be funding with the finalization of the recommendations this season.
If I may interrupt, it's actually on Overland, right near Costco and Cole.
Thank you. Wrong street. Okay, and then recommended, so at the full $5,000 amount, these several organizations. So African Community Development, they teach workshops for African women to learn the traditional basket weaving, and then in an effort to sort of preserve culture. And a lot of these, I think in the application, they mentioned that there's traditions of, kind of giving out these baskets at like wedding ceremonies as well as other things. So that really importance of preserving the culture. Ava Whitlock, this was an individual application, but she's going to be working with many organizations to put on Square Dance Festival and workshops. And they even mentioned in their application a petting zoo of instruments that people can actually try them out. Which I thought was kind of a cute idea. So, you don't always get to access to instruments, so it's very cool. The Basque Museum and Cultural Center will be creating a new exterior exhibit that will be, and this picture, I was looking for the best picture I could find of that wall, but if you see on the left side of that picture, there's a bunch of shrubs. Those no longer exist. So they're fully torn out, and the goal is to put that exterior exhibit on, looking at this photo on the left side of this building. So it looks like they've already gotten approval from their board, and will be a very cool project with Kyle looking at. Boise Community Band will do their program will include 3 summer free concerts in Julia Davis Park. So performances included. Boise Contemporary Theater has done their 5x5 and summer reading series, which gives them the great opportunity to test out new works and see how the public reacts and get feedback from the public. Select those for longer productions. So great programming. Global Lounge, 2025 World Village Festival, a staple that's been around for a few years now, with some probably COVID era pauses, but excited. Idaho Concerts and Care, which is bringing professional musicians into care facilities for the elderly. And this is such a wonderful opportunity, and I believe it was also funded in FY24, but for people who don't always have the opportunity or the ability to leave those places, bringing in just world-class musicians to them, such a and then page 2, lots to go through. So Idaho Humanities Council is bringing in author Angeline Booley, and she'll be doing a few assemblies at Boise high schools and so presentations to those students at several high schools in town. And then LED. So one thing I'm mentioning as I go, you might notice there's kind of a interesting focus and an exciting focus on youth programming that I think was really cool to see this year. So LED is going to be doing outreach in Boise public schools, like doing kind of, I guess you call them impromptu pop-up performances in exciting places around various schools, and they've already had communication with various schools in Boise to just introduce kids to contemporary dance, to performing arts, and kind of provide a little bit of that like delight of coming across that in your hallway. So kind of a cool program that I'm interested to hear how it goes and get some feedback from that. Ming Studios applied for their Insight of Youth exhibition, and so this is where they bring in actually youth curators to curate an exhibit made up of youth art centered around the theme. So they've had this program for a few years now, but this is, as far as I know, the first time they've applied for grant funding for it. Pendulum Early Music is a new organization. It's actually one of the members is Kevin McTeague, who's been a former grant recipient in the past. And they created this, and it's Baroque, classical Baroque music on classic instruments. And I hope I get this correct. Whoever sees this, I hope it's not wrong, but they use gut strings. So the instruments themselves are true to the period. Okay, thank you. Versus maybe some others where they're playing Baroque music, but they're not on the classic instruments or the correct strings. So very unique and awesome opportunity. So Stephanie Bacon is doing a book publication based on a major project called Arrivals, What's Left Behind, What Lies Ahead. This is the exhibit portion of that project, and it's highlighting stories of refugees, primarily from Boise, but as well as a few other places across the state. One person that's featured is a member of the Nez Perce tribe, for instance. But they want to create a book of some of these stories and then publish those and have them available in local libraries. And I've heard, I think the exhibit was at Boise State. And I'm not sure.
That seems right, because it was, looks like the galleries.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not here.
Story Night will be for their program support for the late night series as well as the their flagship series. Teal Gardner, Eco-Geoglyphic Observatory exhibition and meetup. So they call kind of the preparation work that they do with the group that creates this exhibition field work. And a lot of this helps to inform, is research, there's tours in the community, and that all influence whatever art, whatever creative thing exists in that exhibit. So that field work is what is looked at in this program.
So is that observatory an actual observatory or is it an idea? Like
It's an idea.
It's an idea.
I believe. And this will be happening at Main Studios. And she also had, she was another Catalyst grantee. And that was for the exhibition before. This one, I believe the intended title is planned to be Riperia. And I'm forgetting the exact details. I could probably look it up here, but it's kind of thinking about what a utopia could be where development and environment exist. Yeah. Boise Bard players, so they traditionally have done Shakespeare in unique places like bars and pop-ups, and they're really trying to find, I think they've really found their stride and have really grown as an organization, and they are planning to do more, I guess you would call it classical theater in a venue, so it's less pop-up at Mad Swede and more a production somewhere. But I will say last year's grant, they sold out of their shows and had to add 2 additional performances because they sold out so quickly. So it's been really cool to watch this organization grow and see them come back from the year. Yeah, please feel free to chime in if I miss anything. Okay, and then last but not least, for annual, and I'll go quickly through Catalyst because I know this is long. The Boise Chordsmen, so the Idaho Youth Barbershop Festival happens year after year. Really great program. They reach thousands of students across the Treasure Valley, but happens at the Mercer Center. Treasure Valley String Quartet will be doing a state-of-the-art program, so thinking about classical music, but turning it on its head and thinking about how more contemporary music can be played on classical instruments, as well as, I believe, commissioning a brand new piece in partnership with a student. And then this is actually from their final report last year, and I just loved it. Trico's 2025 summer camp. All right, so just a quick overview. 54 applicants, 12 were brand new, 7 of that 12 were recommended for funding. And I will say that number did go down, but I believe that's due to Catalyst being so successful, I guess, in reaching that emerging and kind of first-time applicant pool. So some of these, I didn't include those first-time applicants because they're technically not. A lot of these were Catalyst, so they were not first time, but they were the first time for the annual.
Is it appropriate for you to ask about one that was declined? Is that not appropriate? I don't
I
know
think
what
so,
it is.
yeah, absolutely. Is that fine?
Yeah. I'm curious about the first Thursdays. Sorry.
So and I'll just the panel's decision revolved around kind of the goals of First Thursday and what the role of artists would be in the program overall. And please feel free to chime in because you're part of this decision. And so I think the decision ultimately landed on, was Arts and History grant the best funding source for the program? Or was it a better fit for potentially applying for sponsorship from the city as a whole? Because First Thursday's goal is typically to promote businesses downtown, to promote, I guess, like small business, in one evening where everyone can come together and visit all of these places locally. And so I think the decision ultimately it was less about arts, history, culture, and more the art was being used to attract people for business. Is that
To generate revenue. For the businesses.
for the business? Yeah.
Which, again, new voices on the grant panel. I had never looked at it like that, and once it did change my perspective on it. They're like, we're not promoting, and the city already helps with First Thursday. And we have a table, or
So we do First Thursdays on the Plaza, where we actually do pay artists, whether they be performing arts or depending on the theme. So city does invest in hosting something on City Hall, at City Hall steps for First Thursday.
Just to add to, in a year where we were being asked for so much more additional funding than what was there. When we had to get really critical about certain elements, that was, ultimately it was like there do seem to be additional funding sources where we can't maybe find that for the others, or they can.
My heart goes out to you all for having to review all of these excellent applications, and I appreciate you letting me ask about that.
Yeah.
No, it was the most fun job and one of the most difficult jobs to do.
The first year I got to do it, we had enough funding for all of the asks.
Yeah.
So
It's the best part.
no, this year it was, and that, like I say, that different perspective of, like, you have some major sponsors that, should be sponsoring more, or the businesses supporting it more versus the city.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, and then those are kind of just total numbers, so 26 recommended at the requested amounts, 15 at a lower amount, and then 13 declined. And that's just another visual of the breakdown, so we'll keep going.
That number, it was like 7 hours.
It was long. Yeah, I really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
I know, this was a long day.
We got to that, it was like,
Well done.
All right, and I'm gonna kind of skim through this pretty quickly, but Catalyst, again, this is for round 3. Catalyst is really looking at small scale, medium-sized arts, history, cultural orgs, again, projects and programs based, but really looking at that first time applicant, trying to reach those.
Can I ask you, you're gonna hate me, sorry, I mean, I
No, you're good.
I just think this so wonderful. Is there guidelines to let somebody know what you guys consider a small and medium size? Like, is it operating budget? Is it number of employees? Like, how do you let them determine it themselves? Like, how do you do that?
That's a great question. It's kind of self-determined,
Okay.
and we're not gonna turn someone away if they apply.
Got it.
So, you'll see that people apply that are larger organizations, but if it's for a new program that maybe hasn't existed before, that's something that we would recommend they apply for. If they meet with me, I usually try to guide them. Well, when I had the opportunity for them to go one place or another, I kind of tried to say, oh, you should go annual or whatever made most sense. So 40,000 available, the standard award size of 2,000. This is for round 3. Round 4 is happening as we speak, but hopefully the panels are reviewing as we speak. And then so up to 5 awarded for each round. And I remember there was a question like, what if we don't get enough? It'll get rolled over. We have not had that problem. We had more applications than we have today available. Yeah. So just a quick breakdown of timeline. And so this one was May 6th and then closing on June 7th. The applicants were notified on June 28th, and then I'm about to send a scary email that's like, get your final reports in. Actually, it's on my list for tomorrow, so. And then we had, for this one, 5 total reviewers, 4 members of the community, and 1 member of our commission, Catherine. I'm just quickly gonna go through it's the same eligibility, so you should already know that, hopefully. And then our criteria is also the same. And here we go. So we had 11 applications in let's just say round 3, oh my gosh. 11 applications in round 3. The number of first-time applicants, we had 8. So, and 3 were, again, we can only find 5, so 3 of the 5 were first-time applicants. And then we had 22,000 requested with only 10,000 available to be awarded. So here is our list, and you probably will recommend some of the same names. And that was okay. They could apply for both annual and Catalyst. They couldn't apply for the same program though, so it had to be something different. So you'll see a few here. And again, for this, since it was round 3, we always recommend that if we give them feedback, and then they're more than welcome to hopefully incorporate that feedback and apply again for round 4. And we did see some repeat applicants for round 4. And these are the 5 that were awarded. And again, you might see some names you recognize. So Under the Trees is Park Parties. So it's really promoting that electronic dance music for all ages, really accessible. And these happen in the park. And it looks like it was either very hot or maybe she like, I don't know, could have been very hot because they happened in July, so yeah. So the first one happened in July, just a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And then the next one is in August, I believe it's August 20. August 30th, whatever that Saturday is, I don't have the exact date in my head. But check out the list, check out our website, and you can head over to that if you'd like. But a really cool, brand new organization that the founder of the organization created something similar in Canada and then moved here and wanted to replicate a successful organization. The Foundation for Idaho History applied for their 13 Stories film competition, which is a partnership with I-48, where they create films based on are given historical research from the old Idaho Penitentiary and create films based on those stories that are then shared virtually on YouTube for a long time, and they do a screening as well. Angela Merlin Music, which this was there. So I mentioned they're brand new. We funded their inaugural concert, and then we'll also be funding their next season. Boise Hive had the Rap America Project, which was a camp for youth learning how to produce rap music. And it was a larger national project, and they also received NEA funding for that. And so I just heard from her earlier this week that they just wrapped up, and she said it was amazing and super successful. But they had national experts come in to teach some of the classes as part of the camp, and just kind of give kids a new creative outlet. And then finally, Rebecca Evans created a Untangling the Difficult Narrative workshop series. As you can see, these haven't happened yet. I don't even know what date yet. It's early August. So will be happening, and it's really based on how to write about maybe personal traumas that people have experienced. And you can see she's partnered with the Women's and Children's Alliance as well to host these at the library. So open to the public, but I know that there's been specific outreach to Women's and Children's Alliance staff.
We've connected at all or partnered at all with I'm blanking on the name, but it's the IRC has like a story element, and they have Joelle. Do you guys know Joelle? You might not know anything.
I don't, but I can maybe recommend like the promotion.
Yeah, I'll try to make a note to email you the names. Yeah.
thanks.
I think she would appreciate any connections that we can provide. Yeah. All right. Whew. Whew, any questions? I haven't answered all. Okay, sorry, I was like really trying to.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great.
Yes, thank you.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
Keep brief.
I know, it's really hard for you to get it.
I really appreciate how you give space to some to talk about why they're so wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's lovely. They earned it and deserved it, so thanks.
Thank you so much. We have one final thing that is not on the agenda. I think we can talk about it before we close.
I think we can.
It's bittersweet. It's Catherine's last meeting. So, thank you for everything you have done for the department. And all of the events. I always know if I go to something, most likely you will be there representing the city. So it has just been wonderful to have you. And you're off to Cornell, right?
Oh my
gosh,
congratulations.
Wow.
You must be leaving in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually leaving, next week.
Oh my god.
Well, we wanted to give you something for your dorm room. It's a certificate from and a card from all of us. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done and good luck.
For you. It was an honor for me to have an opportunity to work here or like get an experience here because it was really a different field than what I'll be majoring in the fall. So I think it's really was a great opportunity for me to have here. What are you gonna major in? Mechanical engineering. So
Very cool. Well, make sure you stay connected to the arts.
Yeah.
So they're through music or beautiful things on your walls or whatever, but make sure you enjoy yourself and have some level of fun. You're at Cornell studying mechanical engineering.
And I know someone in the ornithology department there, so.
Do you really?
I do.
I know, I'm like, I need to be done.
It's funny. That's a whole other.
It's like the best app in the world.
The Merlin?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I like, yeah, I'm obsessed.
I know.
Well, thank you, Catherine, so much for all that you've done in the service you've given the city. Wish you all the best. Stay in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We have no other business. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Then I want to see that cookie.
I move to adjourn.
All right. Ashley moves to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Johnson.
That's all. I called you a later.
All right, meeting is adjourned.